So the original factory, Harry Morgan with us now, you would obviously know it. The floor, the walls, the roof structure, as he saw it. The office, which he used, was used subsequently by Peter Morgan and now by Charles. So only 3 people have occupied that office, only 3 men have ever headed up Morgan. Harry would certainly know the iconic design. It was within his lifetime. If you saw the Aero 8, way out of his lifetime, but I think he would know it has got his DNA running through him. Just to point it out, the sepia photograph there is Harry Morgan as a young man in the little 3-wheeler that started our story. I wanted to point out that 3-wheeler, if you can just get a glimpse at it. That 3-wheeler, obviously the modern one, is the actual car that Charles and Kira, his wife, did the Gumball Rally last year. That actual car. You don't win the Gumball, it's not a race. However, they were awarded the prize, which is called the Spirit of the Gumball. As we walk back, is it still there? Yes. The bubble gum machine on the stand is the actual prize they won. So £3,500 through death battle in all sorts of diabolical places, and that's what they got. That car has actually been sold at auction. I think it was in Monaco within the last month, and the hammer price was well over £100,000. I think it's a great shame because I would have liked us to have kept it there. But anyway. The other car that I think I really ought to point out is this, if you don't know it, it's the Plus 4 Plus. Unveiled at the Earls Court Motor Show, October 63, we brought it through to January 67. Morgan's first hardtop, the Aero Max, I'll show you shortly, is the second. This is glass fibre. As a lad, I saw that and thought, well, yeah, it's all right, but I don't want my Morgan to look like that one. I want mine to look like this one. And I wasn't alone because we actually built 26 of them. All 26 still exist and rightfully are cherished and cared for. I must obviously point out the Aero 8. That is the actual car that was unveiled at the Geneva Motor Show in 2000. You may get the impression as we're going around here this morning, and don't quote me, some of you might think it's a working museum. You're seeing craftsmanship and you're going to see traditional tools. However, it belies the fact that we use some very advanced materials, some very advanced procedures. The Aero 8, a very important car. First to have bonded aluminium alloy chassis, which we will see shortly, and the first to have its outer panels superformed. Superforming is where you do not roll, stamp or press the metal, you heat the metal to plasticity and blow it against its mould. From aeronautics essentially. We have been using it since the back end of the 90s, I suppose.
What's the advantage of that?
It's a very important advantage. If you're pressing or stamping or rolling metal, you're inevitably stressing it. Apart from the fact superforming allows you to get those curvaceous lines, it doesn't stress the metal. This is, I hesitate to say this in present company, but as I understand it, if we imagined the piece of the sheet, say 100 deep, when you heat it and blow it, they don't all spread out, they all realign themselves, so it remains 100 thick, if you see what I mean. Is that a fair description? It's good enough. This gentleman is from Superforms. The Aero Max, which we're going to see shortly next door, is the first car in the world, and I think it remains the only car in the world, where every panel you can see, and some you can't see, are superformed. It's a very... I should explain that we're out of sync with the build. The ash frame, clad in aluminium alloy, is made next door. We'll go and see it. It comes into here onto the shelf. Now the rolling chassis is coming through to one of these bays, lifted onto trestles, wheels off. One man is then going to install the petrol tank, fuel lines, and he's going to ask a colleague to lend him a hand. And they're going to lift the body off the shelf manually onto the chassis, and he's back by himself. He's going to fit the body, and he's then going to trim on the wings, front and rear, and the cowl. A few other things, a structural member underneath the dashboard. Wheels back on. So it's got its body, it's got its wings. Onto the deck, it moves along here. Let's carefully come through. Two-man operation. Sorry? It's so the car now on the floor is going to move through here. We're going to cut holes in it. We're going to install the loom, and we're going to install some auxiliaries, heater, aircon if it's required, so on and so forth. Towards the end, the bonnet is going to be tailored to the individual car. Flat sheet aluminium alloy, rolled, shaped, trimmed to the individual car. They're going to chop in the louvers by hand, by eye, on the presses there. So it gets to the end, and it is a finished metal car. It's done. It rolls down the road to the paint shop, and we take it apart again, paint it for that later. From where we just walked out to the end there is about 2 days. About 2 days. Just in front of this is the four-seater. The four-seater is on the same chassis as the two-seater. My group, if we could gather here. So fairly obviously the chaps here are building up the ash frames. Ash, a hardwood, very long lasting, very durable, very workable, very sustainable. Notwithstanding Callara fraxinia, ash dieback. We'll talk about that separately. Sourced in this country, Norfolk and Lincolnshire, dried to our spec, into our wood store, and then into our timber mill. In the old days when my car was built, there was a lot of sawing, chiselling and planing, and all that still goes on today. If it's not in use, you can certainly see the tools. However, today we can use milling machines. They are not computer, they are hand managed. But it does enable us to get the various joint sections, overlaps, profiles to a very good tolerance. It doesn't detract from what they're doing, they're still building the frame. Now they will take from the shelves behind us around about 100 separate items. It varies. There's about 100 items. And they will build up the frame they're working on. So the car rolls in to that end of this building, and at that end they put the doors back on, only the doors. And they then set about the leather trim. Crash pad, elbow pads, sill, so on and so forth. In all, over 30 separate items of leather, each tailored to the individual car. It rolls into this area where it gets the bright work, the shiny bits as I call it. So it's getting a petrol filler cap, it's getting the side fixings for the side screens, door handle, locking mechanism, windscreen wiper mechanism, windscreen, and within the door, this very chunky piece, I'll probably pick the wrong one up, but that's going to fit into there. Yeah. So side impact protection, which you might not expect to see on our cars, but then there we have side impact protection. Is that a legal requirement now? I'm not certain because we don't comply in other ways. So I think it's something we can do, so we do. You probably know we have two types of hood. One is retained on the car. The other is the traditional. You unclip and the fabric is loose on the car. We build obviously the little frame, that's the two hoops that support the traditional hood, but we also build the frame for the hood that's retained on the car. These two cars are having the retained hood. So we build the hood, The hood is temporarily fitted to the car, and the fabric tailored to that hood, that car. Yeah? So, leather trim, shiny bits. The hood, and obviously to our right, my right, the seat frames, which are finished obviously in leather. We do have an alternative to leather, but I've only ever seen it done once. The car is then going to travel around that white structural column there. So it's within the building, it just comes around these benches to that side. It goes to one of the finishing bays, only one. Let's make our way there. Wheels off. It gets into electronics, instrumentation, steering column, camera, dashboard, steering wheel. Rather importantly, it gets its wings and bonnet back. Even though we've seen mild steel, galvanised, stainless steel, aluminium alloy, they still have an underbody treatment. All organs are road tested, so we'll go out and have a ride for 20 miles or whatever, come back for whatever adjustments that may be required, clean them, polished within an inch of each line, ready for dispatch. So, a rolling chassis of the plus 8, and a plus 8 with its body. We thought that we were going to need to build about 150 three-wheelers a year, and we've set up this part of the factory as far as that position wall to do that. However, we've had orders for over 1,400, so we're working hard to meet that demand. Fortuitously, we can build 2 in a bay. We weren't going to build 1 in a bay, but we can build 2 in a bay. And we're also abusing, don't quote me saying that word, but part of the aero shop. That whole building was built to build the aero 8 and then through that range. But we're using a significant chunk of that to support the building of three-wheeler. So, 2-litre American motorcycle engine, not Harley Davidson, a company called S&S, independent company, did development work with Harley. They are the engine of choice for the custom bikes and the choppers. Now certainly the Harley Davidson owners that I have taken around the factory, British, European, North American, all say to me, when you upgrade a Harley, you use an S&S engine. I'm not a motorcyclist, I'm simply quoting what I've been told many, many times. 2 litres, 115 brake horsepower, matched into a Mazda-derived gearbox. Into a prop shaft, doing that, and then into a gizmo, that, called the bevel box. The bevel box turns that into that, so it's then belt driven to the rear wheel. Kevlar 2 belts. If you're interested, 0 to 62, 5 seconds, top speed above 120. But you don't have to do those speeds to enjoy this little car. It is great fun to drive.